Hello and welcome to Azure Law Firm Podcast, the show that shares interesting issues about the law where you can relate with daily life. Today's topic, we'll be talking about illegally obtained evidence. So let's be sure to listen all the way through all the details.
Evidence is the material presented to the courts in order to prove or disprove a claim in civil cases, or to establish a prosecution case, or to set up a defense. Normally, there are statutes that regulate on how evidence is to be obtained. Nevertheless, there will be circumstances whereby evidence is obtained in contravention of these statutes, hence considered as illegally obtained evidence. In Malaysia, locally decided cases seems to hear out that evidence is not inadmissible merely because it has been obtained unfairly or illegally, but the test is whether the illegally obtained evidence is relevant and admissible under the Evidence Act 1950. The rule even applies to evidence obtained by means of entrapment or through the agency of an agent provocateur on the manner in which they were obtained. Thus, evidence obtained in breach of the provision relating to confessions and related laws may be regarded as an exception to the general rule of evidence is not rendered inadmissible. For illegally obtained evidence, before any fact is made admissible, it must pass the test of relevancy. This test is stated in the case of Kuruma versus the Queen. In this case, the court was not concerned with how the evidence was obtained. Illegally obtained evidence or improperly obtained evidence is admissible as long as it is relevant. But it is not admissible if it's obtained from a trick that would be prejudice to the accused, where a fair trial would be endangered. However, entrapment set up by the authorities is generally not considered as a trick. Per Lord Goddard in Kuruma vs. the Queen explained that evidence is not admissible if the strict rule of admissibility would operate unfairly against the accused. In Malaysia, illegally obtained evidence has long been held to be admissible subject to the test of relevancy, since the seminal case of Saminathan vs. Public Prosecutor, whereby the court held that the documents were admissible as evidence, and the courts were not concerned on how the evidence was obtained. The same principle can be seen applied in the case of Hanafi bin Mat Hassan. In this particular case, the accused was convicted for the offences of rape and murder. The defense counsel ruled that the blood samples taken from the accused for the purpose of conducting the DNA test were not taken voluntarily, as the accused was handcuffed at that time. Augustine Paul JCA, however, ruled the court has no discretion to refuse to admit evidence on the ground that it was illegally obtained if it's relevant. Therefore, the evidence relating to blood sample taken from the accused was admissible, as it was relevant even if it was taken without his consent. Furthermore, in the case of Public Prosecutor versus Muhammad Rasid bin Yusuf, the court, in discussing the non-compliance in taking the urine sample, followed the same principle as they said. My other reason is as follows. Assuming, for the sake of argument, the police breached the proviso to subsection 1A in obtaining the urine specimen from an arrested person, the evidence procured thereby will be considered as improperly or illegally obtained evidence. However, it's settled law that in our system of justice, illegally or improperly obtained evidence is admissible provided it is relevant. To conclude, it is crystal clear that there are many authorities that admit illegally obtained evidence. This has allowed the prosecution to adduce evidence with liberty, so that an accused can be convicted more easily rather than be acquitted on mere technical grounds. The admission of illegally obtained evidence allows the prosecution to retain exhibits seized, which are capable of being used in evidence at a trial. However, there are also certain circumstances whereby the court, by its own discretion, may reject illegally obtained evidence. This situation happens if it is found that illegally obtained evidence would operate unfairly or oppressively against the accused.
Stay tuned to our next podcast episode for more interesting topic that we will share. Thank you for listening. If you have any further inquiries regarding this topic, do follow our Instagram and also Facebook, and drop by, send us a DM, and we will try as best as we can to reply to your DMs. So, I'm Zuleika, signing out.